So the next thing that I wanted to show you is how to paint small light effects, just such as shining eyes, and then we'll add a shining effect on the sword. Normally it's called OSL, and that is a shortcut for oriented source light. But probably most of the time you want the OSL effect with a visible point that is the light is originating. Okay, so for OSL effects to work, we need to think what is the originating point of the light effect. So for us it will be the eye. So it's very important to the point of origin to be very bright, almost white, because then we will see the place from which the light is coming. And also we want to focus the attention on this point. So when painting red, it's also important to paint it on a full white background, because then it will be saturated. So here I painted the whole glass on the eye with dark red, so it's our undercover. But now we'll paint the middle of the eye with only white. So you can see that if the white is not strong, it won't cover fully, so it will be a little mixture of white and red. But we can strengthen it by adding more white. At this point, even if you paint most of the surface of the eye with white, it's not a problem. Okay, now using red, maybe very bright saturated red, you can cover the whole surface. You can dilute the red paint a little so it won't cover that well, so the white will be visible from underneath. It's very important for the eye to be as saturated as it can be. You also can use, as I have here, some red ink, so the color will be very strong. Okay. And now we also should add more white, maybe mix it a little with the ink or with the red paint. And start making the center of the eye brighter. So even now you can see that it's beginning to be very visible, and it's visible because we have a lot of blue armor that is very complementary. So you can see that the color is of the armor is complementary to the red, so you can see a big difference, and it's something that we want to represent on this miniature. So in the center of the eye I add pure white. So this will be the spot from which the light is coming. If you overdo the spot, if it's too big, then we can always blend it a little with the ink, or maybe with the bright red. It's not a problem. So the next thing to show the light source is to represent the light emanating from the object. So here we have a very lit place, so the light won't be that visible on all the surfaces, but we can paint this line with red or glaze it, so you can see that the eye is shining. So the close vicinity of the eye will catch a lot of color of the light source, but also other surfaces that are close. So we can add a little of the light source here, maybe here, and here on the inner part of the armor. So let's use the ink, because it's transparent but it's also very strong. So let's color the surface just under the eye. If you don't want the effect to be that visible all around, you can even add it just under the eye, so it will be a slight difference. It will show that the eye is glowing but not that strong. It won't be that visible on all the surfaces that are around. So you can see that the ink is producing a nice saturated red color that is mixing with some blue tones of the armor that we were painting earlier. Of course, this is a simple light effect. You can do a lot more with this, but for starters it's a nice exercise just to add some cool detail to your miniature. And also we want to add a little of this red here, just a little slight hint here on this crevice. Because it's close. If you overdo it, take a little medium and wash the color a little, so it won't be that visible. Okay, there's just a slight hint. And if you want to do it stronger, you can always add a little more white. Yeah, but that should be sufficient. So it's a nice way to make shiny guys, but I think it's sufficient for this marine. Also, if you want them to shine even more, because I think the white point is not so strong, we always can add a little more white, just a dot, yeah, to make it more shining. Yeah? So it's a nice, cool effect. And the next thing that I wanted to show is how to paint such an effect also on this blade, because we prepared some darker places that will give us background to show a fully saturated red color. So also I base coated all those two surfaces where I want this one to generate more light, so I will add more brighter red here at the end. So this point will generate light and it will fall on the blade. So let's highlight it into a little more. You can see it's getting brighter. Also let's add a little white just to bump the saturation. You can cover the surface with a little white and then overpaint it with red. The color will be more saturated then. So we want the tip of this ball to generate light. Adding ink will give us saturated red. So you can see that it's very strong, but that's the point of it. Also want to add more white just for the tip to shine. So now the thing that we are missing is the effect of the light originating from the surface, from the energy spots on the blade. So we can add a little dark diluted red just on the outskirts. To modulate the shadows, to add red to them.
Poczekaj chwilę, bo tam się wyłączy ten, kamera. Nie wiem, czy się wyłączyła, bo się pakiet skończył, czy się przegrzało. Rozumiesz, pan śmieciarz mnie opieprzył, że gałęzie były nierozwiązane.
Tylko dlatego ci zadzwonił?
Tak.
Okay.
O, tu też się skończyło już. Dobra, i tak trzymamy, tak jest w porządku.
So we can see that we are with thin glazes, thin layers of very diluted paint, we are shifting the temperature of the blade to more red, saturated red, close to the point of origin for the light source. Yeah, so just focus on the close vicinity of those 2 points and try to add more red to them. Okay, if you overpaint the point of origin a little, so it's not a problem, we can then fix it. So we are adding stronger red, sorry, to this close surface, to this point. So you can see that the light source is slowly starting to glow in this place. If it's too bright, you can always color it with darker color or with some colors from the previous base color of the blade, maybe some black, just to limit the surface. We don't want to ruin the effect on the non-metallic blade. Okay. So now let's add more highlight. Let's use some mixes of white and red just to mark the light source that is surrounding this surface that is close to the light source. Yeah. We want a high saturation here, so now we can overpaint it with our red ink. Okay, so you can see that those 2 points are beginning to glow. Sometimes there will be a difference in layers, so we can smoothen it out a little, maybe widen the effect of the glowing, but we only just need a very bright saturated red just for the light source to be visible. And just close to the point of origin. Some people in this place add also maybe some patterns of static lightning that is coming from those points just to generate an effect of a power weapon, but you can decide what you want to add. Just a small effect of glowing also adds cool detail, and also you can see that when we left the surface surrounding those points in the dark, we have the place to paint the glowing effect here. Okay, so during painting I probably touched the surface that is the light source originating with red ink, so we can always fix it a little so those points are almost white. So here we have a finished small oriented source lightning effect that will represent a power weapon in its action. Have fun experimenting.